Welcome back. We are joined now by my favourite colleague, the executive editor of the Daily Beast, Hugh Dougherty. Hugh, what the hell is going on?
Mm-hmm. Well, Joanna, Sam, thank you for having me back. Joanna, I know you say that to all your favourite colleagues.
I do, actually.
Quite rightly. We have loads of people to choose from. What is going on? Where do we want to start? Do we want to start with Elon?
I think so. As I said to Sam, I'm still wavering on Elon.
Back and forth.
I know.
So many winning
I hate
qualities.
the messaging, but I like I like the urgency he is bringing to something.
Oh my gosh. All right.
Well, maybe we could talk about a couple of numbers that might mean something about Elon.
Okay.
And then a theory that's no more than a theory, but I think one that we should get out into the world. So some numbers from Elon. He's got 14 children, as we know. Mm-hmm. But he's got $100 billion less than he had when he started supporting Donald Trump openly. So it's been a bit of a topsy-turvy week, a bit of a topsy-turvy 6 months, and this week we have seen Elon get a whole display on the front lawn of the White House. And just to run you through some numbers, he had 4 cars out on show. It was the Pennsylvania Avenue Auto Mall, and he had Donald Trump shilling his cars.
Can I just make a point? I am worth substantially less this week than I was last week when I look at my 401k. So I'm not saying my numbers are the same as Elon's, but I'm very sympathetic to the significant drop in the market, shall we say.
Everybody has been exposed to these markets.
Right.
And what's unusual about Elon is he might be somebody that's driving those markets down. The whole tariff chaos that's erupted has seen a big sell-off in the Dow Jones and the S&P and whichever index you choose, and particularly in Tesla's share price. And Donald Trump is out there doing his best to support Elon, which takes us to another number. 53% of people don't have a favourable view of Elon Musk. So there's a new poll out from CNN and SSRS, and what it says is Americans don't think he's a person to handle government. They don't think he's a person to handle economy. And I know you're both have a 4-month theory about Elon. The big question for Trump is this going to start dragging down his view of Elon? Is Trump's approval going to start going down? Because Trump's approval remains actually quite high.
Well, and also for the president, Elon is incredibly useful because he's doing the dirty work for him, right? He's taking on the deep bureaucracy. He's trying to cut government. And actually, I take the point of the figures that you just gave us, but most people are hugely in favour of cutting government because people think it's more bloated, probably, than it is. Sam wants more government.
Well, listen, I mean, a lot of government work is kind of make work project. It's keep people employed. It's a very important function of government jobs. I'm Canadian, and that's why I see it that way. But I really do, and I think people's opinions change when they start getting weird letters signed by Elon Musk asking them to justify their jobs and tell me 10 things you did that were useful at your job.
5 things, not even 10.
Not even 10.
Right, 5.
It's, I think people are very shocked. My worry is that none of the metrics that seemed previously important to Trump in terms of his popularity and his numbers and the condition of the stock market seem to be moving him anymore. Like none of those traditional movers seem to be changing his opinion of the way things are going. Is this correct?
Well, Trump said, unusually, Trump has been, as everyone knows, a very public voice about the markets.
Yeah.
And everybody knows that he's a fanatical follower of where the Dow Jones is.
Sure.
To him, it has been a barometer of popularity. This week, he said, I'm not following the markets. And while nobody really believes him, that's certainly a different position to take. It's something he never dared to say in his first term. The other thing that people around him are saying, particularly Howard Lutnick, who is his commerce secretary, is this is worth it. And that's a message that Elon is also projecting, that there have been words used that include a detox period, turbulence. None of those sound like good things. And now there's a messaging that maybe this is worth it. Now, because this is Trump land, nothing is ever simple. And we're now hearing murmurings inside the White House's inner circles that Howard Lutnick is overstepping the mark and that he's saying things that are not sensible. And sources close to Trump have been telling reporters in the White House that Lutnick does not appear to know anything about the economy or about tariffs. So because Trump being Trump always goes on how people rate on television, Lutnick is doing a lot of television, but every time he speaks, he's giving ammunition to his critics.
Right.
So it may be that he's the first person that gets overboard.
Well, and it's certainly true that when you watch Howard Lutnick, he looks giddy on the excitement of his newfound celebrity, because he's a guy that people in the business knew, people on Wall Street knew who he was, and he has a mixed reputation. But you can see him getting incredibly excited by being on television, and you watch that sort of bounce when people first become famous and they can't sort of keep it under control, and you can sort of see it playing out in him, actually.
People are so tired of the unpredictability, and we are not even, I mean, how many weeks into this presidency are we?
We're just past 50 days, Sam.
I mean,
I know it feels like longer.
I want to know what to do with I'm getting really close to needing my retirement savings. Do you know what I mean? I'm getting a little older.
Well, you have to move back to Canada. That's what you're going to have to do.
Oh my goodness. Well, Canada's in turmoil too. These
well, that's true.
market
True.
whipsaws
But
affect...
at least you get healthcare in Canada.
You do get healthcare in Canada. I know. I want healthcare here. That's a pipe dream. Can you imagine? I'm laughing at myself for even saying it.
It's just, it's fascinating.
But
I don't know what to say.
It's
On the subject
terrible.
of Canadians, of course, Elon Musk briefly was a Canadian.
Yes,
And
that's right.
He's a child of Canadian mother. He was educated. His beginning of his education was in Canada before he crossed the border to the United States. And I want to introduce a theory about his appearance. That Joanna's wearing a particularly colourful coat.
Thank you.
And
2 people commented on this coat this morning, and I took an Uber, so there weren't very many people I passed. And one of them said, bravo, I think. Bravo, madam, for wearing that coat.
It's a showstopper.
Well, I think they were saying bravo because I was brave to wear it. And they were like, bravo, madam,
Wow,
bravo.
you really took a risk. What a swing.
I took a risk. Thank you.
so Elon is somebody that we can track some of his relationship with Trump by what he's been wearing. And you'll remember that the first time he appeared with Trump on stage in Butler in Pennsylvania, he was wearing an Occupy Mars T-shirt. And we know
An
thanks
ill-fitting T-shirt, I think it's fair to say.
We know
'cause it
thanks to the-
exposed
Yes.
some belly.
Tummy.
And thanks to the author Michael Wolff, who I will just preface that the White House have described Michael Wolff as
A lying sack of shit.
Yeah.
he relates that Trump said, what the F is wrong with him and why doesn't he wear a suit? Now, Elon, you'll also remember, was in the cabinet room and he was standing up and he was wearing what one of my colleagues described perhaps slightly darkly as a Columbine coat and his dark MAGA hat and a T-shirt underneath. And again, after that, this was like the
Well, it
moment
said
of
tech
his peak
support, the
power.
T-shirt, right?
Yes, sorry.
I thought that was very funny, tech support. Because I'm sure Trump has no idea how to log into his... Well, he doesn't even have a phone, right?
Are we logging that as a positive toward Elon
No,
Musk?
I just thought it was funny that he was wearing a T-shirt saying tech support when he's Elon Musk. Come on, people. We can't entirely lose our sense of humour.
I'm just remaining very fair and balanced.
Okay, good. You report, we'll decide.
Exactly. But after that, there were beginnings of murmurings that Elon had begun to overstep the bounds, and that in Trump world, there is only one king, there is only one star, and it's Trump. And murmurings got around of why is he not wearing a suit. The next time we saw him in a big public setting was at the address to Congress last week, and he was wearing a suit. He was wearing a tie, and
he didn't have a child with
he
him.
did not have an emotional support child with him. It was
An emotional support
completely different
child.
appearance. Fast forward a bit. This weekend, Elon Musk went on Marine One and Air Force One to Mar-a-Lago, so we got to be able to see what he was wearing. And he was kind of halfway in between. He was wearing a jacket, apparently ripped from a suit, maybe a sport coat. He was wearing a T-shirt, and when he opened up his jacket, you could see that it was from Brioni, which, of course, is the outfitter of Donald Trump. He's long got his suits there. There's long been concern that they're not the best fitting, but he's now dressing a bit like Trump. And then this week, we saw him out on the Pennsylvania Avenue Auto Mall with the Emotional Support Child X at his side, and he was back kind of halfway in between. He was wearing a T-shirt which was promoting self-driving Teslas that are he says, coming next year, the cyber cab, but he was wearing the jacket, and his son, of course, was modelled on him, as people.
Well, his son
noticed.
always wears a suit, strangely.
Well, what was he wearing when he had a spat with Marco Rubio?
Well, Sam, we don't know, and that spat with Marco Rubio seems to have marked possibly the high point of Elon Musk's power, and the moment that Trump has begun to rein him in. And we saw the semiotics of the display at the White House were really interesting, because Trump was absolutely out there. He listed off the prices of the Teslas,
Which he was reading from a thing, right? Oh, you've got a picture of it.
I've got a picture
yeah.
here, and
Oh, God. What are we
somebody,
doing?
we don't think that is Trump's handwriting. Somebody wrote down
Oh, that is
all
not
cars are
his handwriting.
self-driving, just needs to be turned on. When Trump got in, he said, "Wow, computer." So I'm not sure.
He said, wow, comma, computer? Okay.
He looked,
Great.
he sat down inside. He said he's not allowed to drive, which is true. Presidents and former presidents aren't allowed to drive. He sat down and he looked at the display, and I think most people have been in a Tesla. They've seen there's a screen.
It's like driving an iPad. Driving a Tesla is like driving an iPad, and they are fantastic cars when they work. I just want to say I bought one. I was very excited to have one, and it stopped working. And then I was told it was from a rogue batch.
We've
And
been
there was
depressing.
Trump did not mention that rogue batches are a risk. He did say that you can get them for as little as $35,000, and asked Elon, "What's that all about?"
We've been blessed with such an orator. Wow, computer.
And what's that all about? A good question, which Elon didn't actually answer.
So is Trump trying to give Elon an ad for his cars because he's acknowledging that actually in doing this for the country, in doing what he's doing for the country, Elon has actually lost $100 billion worth of personal value, and he's trying to help him. Is that what's going on here?
Absolutely,
Right.
some element of that. Trump said he's been unfairly persecuted, and he used language that we used to hear Trump using about himself, about persecution. You remember Trump was shouting witch hunt for the best part of the last 10 years. But that suggests that Trump here has slightly more power than Elon does, and he's inviting his followers to give some of their money to Elon, really out of pity. And I'm sure.
Well, Elon's had $40 billion in government subsidies for Tesla and for SpaceX, right?
Yeah,
That's
if they
part
just-
of why he's doing
If they just
this.
ended his government subsidies, I think Doge would have saved much more than
Right,
that.
no need for Doge.
No need for Doge. I mean, that's
away
the
the
solution.
chainsaw.
Yeah, put away the chainsaw.
But then
Stop.
somebody's got to get those two poor people back from space, right? NASA can't bring them back.
Well, Trump's already offered some insight into what
I
he
liked
thinks
his
is going
comment
to
about.
happen.
I liked his comment about the woman's hair.
I didn't.
He was like, she's got big hair, a lot of hair.
again, what an orator.
She hasn't had a haircut for a year.
He thinks they'll fall in love, and I just point out because they are.
I don't think they're
NASA
falling in love. I
astronauts-
don't
No,
think they're falling in love.
We ask them when they're back, but because they're NASA astronauts, he is technically their boss.
Oh,
So-
interesting. And no HR. I mean, it's a very interesting HR. What happens if they do fall in love? Is that it's a work relationship?
I imagine we will see a live stream courtesy of the
I
White
hope they
House.
do fall in love.
What type of ocracy are we living in? It's definitely a kakistocracy. It's a kleptocracy. Is there like a definition of what the time period that we're living in? How will we reflect on this historically if we have a future that enables us to look back on this time period?
I'll defer to Joanna. Surrealocracy?
A beastocracy.
Beastocracy.
Oh my
A beastocracy, I think.
And I'll just offer one plug that The Swamp, our brilliant gossip-filled newsletter, has one thing that I think we should all keep an eye on in the next few weeks and the next few months. Elon Musk isn't the only billionaire that Trump listens to. And right now, it looks like he does he listens to Musk. He absolutely has him at his side. But there are other people who are flexing their influence and are making clear that they want to be listened to about what happens to the economy, about what happens to the markets. And one of those people that we note in our latest edition of The Swamp is Larry Fink, who's the BlackRock billionaire. And he has managed Trump's money in the past, or parts of it, and Trump likes what he did to his money. And there's a big opportunity for Musk's enemies, and Steve Bannon obviously is the top enemy here, to come after Musk and say, well, you can't manage your own money, you're harming the economy, there are other people to listen to.
What about Jeff Bezos, who's, I think, second richest man and obviously way behind in terms of Blue Origin? They've spent an enormous amount of money on that. Elon's rockets are better than Jeff's. Is Jeff trying to get Donald Trump's ear too, or is he just trying to lay low? Because I'm fascinated by the fact that obviously he bent the knee, went to the White House for the inauguration or went to Congress for the inauguration. And of course, Amazon remains the biggest purveyor of anti-Trump material.
It's very hard to know what Trump thinks so far about Jeff Bezos. He's said nothing. He's had him for dinner. There's no doubt that he welcomes the MAGA turn that Jeff Bezos has asked for in the Washington Post's opinion pages. And in a trawl from the White House podium this week, Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary, congratulated the Washington Post on a reorganisation. And it was really a very minor change in newsroom structure. But they want to highlight that Trump appears to have power over Bezos. And Bezos has not been known to be directly advising Trump, but he has huge amounts of interest in front of the government. Trump can't be happy about the way that Amazon, as Joanna, you rightly say, is one of the places to go to get a load of anti-Trump material. Amazon is selling everything. And I know, Joanna, you watched the new documentary on Katharine Graham that brilliantly portrays somebody not bending the knee at the Washington Post.
Yeah, it's an amazing documentary. I strongly recommend it. It's really about her running the Washington Post through both the Pentagon Papers, her decision to publish the Pentagon Papers when the New York Times couldn't publish the second and third part of them, and then obviously standing up to Nixon. And the parallels are extraordinary. And it's so weird that this is playing on Amazon Prime when you're like, Jeff Bezos is now, was sold the paper for $250 million by Don Graham, Kay Graham's son, and they are running the documentary, which undermines everything that Jeff Bezos is doing with the Washington Post.
Well, I will say this. I was on the Amazon Video, on the app on my television. I turned it on yesterday to watch something else, and they are showing, and it is like the full front page are old episodes of The Apprentice.
Yep.
So, you can
Jeff
have it
Bezos
both
is
ways.
having both ways. I mean, it's super interesting. I can't believe that the Trump people haven't tweaked to it.
I think,
Or maybe they don't care.
I think Trump knows that all of this is about great television. We saw that in Zelensky in the Oval Office. And at the end, how did Trump sum up this amazing moment in international relations? Well, that was great television. And to have billionaires fighting out in public over their affection or otherwise for Trump, that's what Trump feeds off. And when the Elon show is beginning to fade, and maybe it is, we're going to see somebody else brought in. It's the TV producer instincts that Trump has are going to keep projecting forward into new personalities and new characters. And of course, being Trump, bringing back old characters.
Right, so
There's
Elon-
nothing he loves more than a reunion show.
Oh, so interesting. So Elon will be fired, on with a new character. Hugh, thank you very much. Always interesting to hear what you've got up your sleeve.
So interesting.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for the edible flowers.
Would you like
please.
a flower to take on your way?
Put it in
You
your
look
hair.
hungry.
I will enjoy one with my lunch. Thank you.
Put it in your pocket and have it for lunch.
Yeah, put it on top of your sandwich. Actually, to be fair, Hugh brings beautifully chopped salads every day
do.
from home. He does.
I do actually.
He does. I'm the one that goes out to the deli for the sandwich.
I like
not
that.
great catering options right
I
now.
love bringing my own lunch to things. I've got snacks in my bag
Can't
right
imagine
now.
anything I'd less like to do.
Well, that's the English.